Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet right here on Metal Messiah Radio. Tonight, my guest is the witch from Necronomicon. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, Jet?
So, Rob, tell us about the early days of Necronomicon. You know, why you started this band up, and what message you kind of wanted to get out by doing so.
Well, if we really talk about the real beginning,
the real beginning, Rob.
Where we're talking about like 1988, and as I was playing around, and I always liked dark stuff. You know, my main influence is Celtic Frost and Hellhammer and Bathory and Venom. So that gives you an idea. And where I come from, it's like in the north. It's like 6 hours northeast of Montreal, in the north. You know, and the region is really remote in the mountains. And everyone was just listening Metallica. You know, Metallica, Anthrax, and that's it. And me, I was like the weird one. So I had to get musicians from other towns, literally, and meet in the town in the middle to practice with the band. Imagine how hard it was. It was really complicated. You need to take a bus for like an hour to go practice. Ugh. And sometimes you miss the last bus at night when you come back home, so you're doing hitchhiking to come back to your place. And stuff like that. But I could go really long. It could be really a long story. But what happened is we agreed that we had like my drummer at the time was one of the best drummer there, and it was into like the Anton LaVey writings and stuff like that. So we all agreed there was dark stuff, but Nia was more into the Lovecraft stuff, you know. So we had another band name, and I won't say it because it's creating reaction every time because it's a band that exists. But we kept that name for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we said it's not dark enough, so we choose Necronomicon. And from that point, we were talking more about Lovecraft stuff, you know, like creatures and context. And after the first demo, we realized someone from Montreal, because since we're not from Montreal, said, you don't realize how much your band have an impact. And I was like, well, we just do our stuff, so whatever. And we realized that after like 3,000 copies sold by ourselves without real promotion, that we were one of the demo in here in Quebec province selling the most. So we we better start to think that a little bit more seriously. You know? So I started to plan everything to go in Montreal. It was really complicated. It took some years because like some musician didn't want it to come. I had to reestablish the entire band, find jobs, you know, all that stuff. And at the same time, I started to say, I cannot talk about ridiculous fictional story if the band have a certain audience. So from my point of view, I wanted to talk about some stuff like more that more matters. So I decided to talk about like personal experience because I've been raised by my mom's second husband was like a native, and he had the chance to be in touch with the old traditions. So I've been taught a lot of that, you know. So it's coming a little bit to the concept that it's really a spiritual environment, that how humans is in connection with the cosmos. And the entire cycle of life, death, rebirth, reincarnation, stuff like that. And when you have the real definition of the word Necronomicon, it's a little bit what it means. It's things related to death, practices, customs, and laws. That's resumed as Book of the Dead. So it's because it's really long to say what means the name of your band. So that's a little bit how it started. Everything went, and we had like corpse paint, and my bass player at the time had vampiric clothes. You know, a little bit like Celtic Frost in '85 before Code Lake. You have to realize. And after that, we dropped that because there were some musicians in the band were complaining; they didn't like it. And I was the only one who wanted to keep doing that. For a few years, we dropped that. We came back to that, to the origin of what we're doing. And after trying to like experiment, we came back to our roots, and the rest is the story.
And so like you said, you guys been around for a long time, but back in the early 90s, what was the whole, blackened death type of metal scene where you were from, or even in Montreal?
Actually, no, really not. I was back where in the north. I was the only one beside my drummer that knew about bands like Death, Obituary, or Bolt Thrower, death metal band, and that was it. That we were two guys who knew that kind of music in the entire region. There was no one. I mean, even Napalm Death was unknown. Everyone was about Metallica and stuff like that, and I learned 15 years later that there were bands like they had a little bit the same thought in Norway and stuff like. I never heard about these bands before. Immortal, I discovered Immortal in 2005. I discovered Behemoth in 2005 because our agent said, you're going 1 month on the road with a band called Behemoth. I was like, okay. And we discovered Behemoth there. I discovered almost everything about whatever Black Death call it, whatever you call it, around 2005, 2006.
And I was going to say, too, we never heard here, at least here in the States, especially in the early days, we never heard of anything from Canada, really, as far as this kind of stuff goes anyway. So I was just wondering if anything even existed then. Because, of course, back then there wasn't any interwebs or anything like that. And even in, the magazines, there never was a lot of black metal anything in the magazines. All thrash and stuff in the magazines back then, Yeah. So I was just kind of wondering, well, what the hell was happening up there?
There was nothing. And there's still not much. It's better than before, but it's exactly what we were talking before the interview. I was telling you, there's no industry here. The bands here are local bands. It's bands that they do their stuff. They say, oh, we're going on tour, and they do 6 to 8 shows an entire summer. That's touring for them.
Yeah.
Playing the weekend is touring for them. They don't have some people don't even get our band these days, and we're one of the most active band in Canada, and it's really weird. And we don't play Montreal because people don't get it. It's really weird. I mean, they don't get it, and they say, oh, well, what the fuck, they think that they're big star. I said, dude, doing over 100 shows per year. What do? You play the weekend. I said it's really hard. You need dedication. You need to work, and it's sad to say because there's some really good bands. Some bands from here tried, but maybe not in the same style on us.
Right.
But from the Agonists, they're trying really hard and they deserve respect. And people just they don't respect them here. And it's the same for us, and it was the same for Blackguard. And I respect these bands, even if they don't play dark music, because they work their ass off.
Right.
And it's something that people here need to learn. They need to learn that you need to work to get somewhere. And you just said it yourself. You never heard anything about almost nothing from here. Et voila.
I mean, of course we do more so now, like I said, because now we have the interwebs, and there's a couple of Canadian bands up there that we've heard of here, like Arima and a couple of other ones there. But the only reason was because they got big label backing, or I would have never heard of them either. You know what I'm saying?
It's exactly. I mean, Arima, it's the best example. They passed from the local band. And I remember talking with them because I said, Rob, I said, can you give me some tips on this? And I did. I said, look for this, and there, this, that, try to do this, do that. And instead of saying, oh, fuck, he's exaggerating. Oh, they did it. And the next thing you realize, they got signed. They're starting to tour. Well, they're more quiet this year. I don't know why. I am not sure. But, I mean, I was like, fuck. Someone who take the bull by the horns and is trying to make something. and they were in one of the studio I'm working with. I was there like doing whatever, I don't remember, and I saw like on the paper on the side it was written, like, it was kind of a paper like a schedule, and it was Erima was written there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit, you're working with Erima. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, it's really rough for them. I said, yeah, it's rough for everyone. We're in Canada.
And you know, those guys, like you were saying, how you really have to work, and a lot of bands don't get it. There's a band that really works. Get in the van, you know, old school in it, you know, trying to get themselves out there.
Yeah. Actually, you know, that's funny. We're back in the van. Necronomicon is back in the van. Mm-hmm. We've been in tour bus. We had our own RV.
Yep.
We destroyed it. You know, well, think about it. You know, you're going on tour and you're putting more mileage on 1 or 2 months that you do in 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. So we totally destroyed it. So we said, you know what? We're not going to invest another $100,000 to buy another Harvey. It's like, fuck that. And it's a lot of money, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And with the industry right now, money is, for the musician, it's rare. So, you know, we just have a van, a big van, and we're just 3-piece band. So we said, we're going to cut on the expenses, and we're going to start to travel again in the van.
Sure.
And we did it. It's been 2 years. We do it now.
Yeah, and you could always throw a trailer on there and put all your drum stuff in there. Everybody does it now. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, we're back touring in the van, and it's okay. For now, it's okay.
But you know what else we hear a lot too, Rob, is a lot of bands in Canada are always saying that it's hard for them to physically get out of the country to play anywhere because of travel rules and laws and papers and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, well, the big problem is physically, it's demanding physically, of course, to be in the road. But if we talk about immigration paper, working paper to get in US are stupidly expensive because it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And when you're opening band on a small tour and you get paid $100, you won't make it. I mean, I'm lucky enough that Necronomicon is known enough to have a decent salary to be able to, you know, do our stuff and come back. And because a band, as soon as, you know, people don't realize that the bigger the band is, the more expensive the band became. The more expenses you have. You need to answer to more of this. You need to have a standard of quality, of merch, of production, and you know, all that stuff. And gear get destroyed on tour. It's it always make me laugh when I'm seeing a musician getting like a custom, like from a luthier, like $10,000 guitar, and I said, okay, you don't tour. You don't go on tour. I mean, I would never bring a $10,000 guitar that I paid with my own pocket, made with that special like elephant, like ivory, like no.
Right.
Because you get your instrument, you take the plane, the instruments is the wood is like moving, everything got out of tune, everything got like weird and distorted, and after 1 or 2 tour, 3 sometimes, the instrument is good, almost good for retirement. Depending of the intensity of the tour, of course. I mean, if you tour like a few weeks here and there, it's a different. But when you live you live for months, and you know, you cannot bring. I mean, and we don't consider like theft, because that is was really frequent. And ourselves, we lost all our instruments after one tour once. We got, you know. We just received our gear, and after the tour, because it was delivered and there was no guitars, we had like $4,000 or $5,000 of guitars vanished.
Oh my god!
Plus, you know, wireless system and stuff like that. I mean, that's stuff that happens. So you don't, you know, that's other stuff. Like I said, the bigger the band is, the more it costs. So you need to really think. I mean, it's what I'm saying. You need to think what you want to do, why you play music, why you want to go on the road. Do you want to go on the road? And because if you think that you're going to get signed and everything is on a label and everything's going to be fixed, no, it's more problems after that. So, you know,
And, again, you guys been around for all these years, and you just talked about some of the woes of traveling. But what have been some of the challenges that, other than stuff like that, that you guys have faced as a band? I mean, have you ever... 20 years is a long freaking time, Rob. There's...
Yeah.
What kind of challenges besides, like gear challenges and stuff like that? I don't need to get into everybody's personal business, but...
Oh, yeah, well, that's it. Because when you dedicate yourself to a band, it creates other problems. It comes back to what I was just saying. I said, what do you want to do? Why you start a band? If it's just to play the weekend, no problem. If you really want to be serious with your band, that creates problems in other part of your life. Your other work, your relationship. Women's. But I'm saying that because I'm a man. But women's or girlfriends and bands rarely fit. Mm-hmm. This is a fact. It's not something I'm inventing here. There's always a problem. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, because for girls in the band, because I never dated anyone that was in the band or something like that, but. When you're in the music industry, is a kind of a big brotherhood, and everyone understands a little bit each other. So sometimes you have the girlfriend that's coming like by the side, and she's like, "What the fuck is happening here?" And I'm put aside or whatever. And there's a lot of stories like that. So of course, we all had our stories with girlfriends. Every one of us, especially, my bass player has not been there for really long, but, my drummer, Rick, has been with me like for 16 years. So he's the third drummer from Necronomicon. Mm-hmm. The first one was a drug addict. I kicked him out. The other one, decided to go with his girlfriend to have a baby. Mm-hmm. So, and Rick right now is the longest. Like he played the most show with Necronomicon ever. I think he have like something like 700 shows under the belt. Mm-hmm. So when you look at that, he had problem with his girlfriend. I had problem with girlfriend in the past. It's in work and job and this and that. So it always come back to what you want to do. Is it your band? Mm-hmm. Or is it, the life on the side? Because to have a band that really have a real band, it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. So it's a choice that you have to make.
And, it seems to be working for you. Like I said, been around for a long time. Now, when did you guys sign with Season of Mist?
I think it's in 2012. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, 2012. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
And now, when you signed along with them, did that make life a little bit easier for you guys?
Well, like I was telling to someone else this week, a record label is a record label. Mm-hmm. So, they all at some point they're all the same. Mm-hmm. No matter with whom you're going to be. And I'm not saying that to put down Season of Mist or just to put them there. They're a good label. They're really a good label. But no matter with who you sign, you're always going to have something, somewhere it's going to be something that you don't like.
Right.
That's the same story. Record label are there to make money.
Of course.
And they always say, it's so hard and we don't do as much. No, you still make money. If these people still doing money with music, it's record label. Maybe they don't do as much as before, but they still do money. Because they take on something else. They take on your merch, they take on this, they take on that, depending on the contract you have with them, of course. But a label is a label. They're there to make money, and to a certain extent, if you're not the big cheese, you're the last one on the list, or you're in the middle, you're always going to have like a nice spoon of like shit that you're going to have to swallow. Mm-hmm. Because to work with a label, it's to accept that in some aspect you get screwed somewhere. So you need to accept where it hurt the less. That's the way it is to work with a record label, mm-hmm. no matter who it is so far.
Okay, so all right, let's talk a little bit about getting back.
But they're good label.
And they represent you really well, too. I could say that for a fact, too, because I work with Season of Mist a lot. And I've gotten all your stuff and all your press kits and everything from them, too. So they're doing some stuff right by you, Rob, and Necronomicon. So.
No, I mean, I love the guys. I mean, especially the guys from America. Mm-hmm. Gordon is fantastic. I mean, I knew Gordon way before we were in Season of Mist, and it's funny when I didn't know he was working with Season of Mist. So when we joined the guys in Europe, they said, "Oh, for US, you need to talk with Enrique and Gordon." I was like, Gordon. I was like, the Gordon? And actually Gordon wrote to me, said, "Hey man, buddy, welcome to the family, blah, blah, blah."
Nice.
I was like, wow, okay, I didn't know that. So, I like the guys, actually.
Well, that's always a plus, Rob. So, Rob, now obviously you guys, stage appearance is important to the band as well. Now, you had mentioned, you started out with the paint and then you stopped it and then you went back. What does the stage appearance and the paint and the dress and all that, what kind of message do you try to portray as a band on stage when you're like this?
Well, how I can explain that is maybe a little bit different. I don't know how other bands doing that, what's their idea of doing that. But of course, at the beginning, it was to try to look a little bit like Celtic Frost and, all that stuff, be in that vein. Mm-hmm. After that, it was more like to have like, literally like, have war painting, armor-like costumes to represent in a certain way that it's a war that we're waging. It's a war against ignorance. It's pretty much as simple as that. It's why it doesn't. Most of our costumes, outfit on stage look more like armors than just a regular jacket or this and that. That's pretty much the warrior spirit. Yeah, it's really simple in a certain way.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the new album, Advent of the Human God. So tell us a little bit about the album title and the cover art and how all that ties in.
The album cover tried to touch a little bit of every song, as much as I can, if I can say. For example, there's a song called Unification of the Four Pillars. You see on the album cover, there's the four pillars. Mm-hmm. You have like a little bit of everything in the cover as the elements. You have the fire, you have the skies, you have some opposite. You have the pillar that represent the earth. You have like the character like gliding that represent the air. You have some elements like that. The three character on the can easily represent the band, but at the same time. It represents, like, how can I say, like, the form that we've been using since 1999 is the triangle that represent the first, because you see the position, the position like in a kind of a triangle, and it represents the triangle as the first material form generated by the number 3 in numerology. And of course, they're all warriors. They have armors and weapons, and they're coming. It's not angels. You see, they don't look like angels. Mm-hmm. Well, from my point of view, they're way darker, and so it represents a little bit all of the songs. But at the same time, it's a little bit more focused on the main song, that's Advent of the Human God. That, like I was explaining a little bit earlier, is the communion between the all above and the all below, to that the human can to reconnect himself with the cosmos, to become one and realize that he's one with the universe, with the cosmos, with the energy, and that we have the potential to become our own God.
And also this album, 11 tracks, again, very symphonic and dark. Did you have any guests on this album?
Actually, I wanted to have some people appearing. You mean guest appearance from other people?
Right,
I mean?
right.
Yeah, I wanted to have some people, but the timing didn't fit. Some friends of mine from other bands, I won't name here because it didn't happen, so I think it would be useless. But no, it didn't happen. It didn't happen, and I'm kind of sad because the timing was really bad, actually. It totally didn't fit. But yeah, I was planning to have one or two other persons.
Well, it came out fine without them, so you don't have to be too sad.
Yeah, but it was a little bit sad. It was a little bit sad because there's some people that I know for a long time.
Sure.
And we tried to make it happen, but it wasn't possible.
Well, so tell us a little bit about the album, both musically and lyrically.
Lyrically, well, as I was explaining, the cover of the album, it really represents a little bit of all that, For, like I said, unification of the four pillars represent the four elements that are generated at the core of our planet. But at the same time, it explained that, whatever the Earth decide to wipe us out, tomorrow it can be done. If really the planet decided to just okay, I got enough of the human race, it can destroy everything. And at the same time, it explained that we need to recognize that the planet, with all the pollution, everyone's they are saying that, we're destroying the earth and everything. And you have to remember that, like I said, if the planet wants to clear everything out, the planet going to do it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that it's okay to pollute and everything. I'm saying that it's just that to be conscious that it's not about our everyday life, or I got a bigger television than yours, and I need to have my iPad and my iPhone, the new iPhone and stuff like that. That there's things on a larger scales that can change the entire game. That's an example. Also, if we take the exceptions, is Crown of Thorns from our new video clip. Mm-hmm. That talk about something that's really annoying me here. It's that, especially on the French part, it's that people ignore French, Canadian, and I'm gonna, if they listen, they're not gonna like it. They play the victim here. They always complaining about English and this, and poor us and poor this and that. And the real victims here have been the native people. And even when you talk about that, the French people said that, oh no, we never did anything wrong to the native. It's the English. They put it in the English again. Mm-hmm. And that's a freaking lie. That's a freaking lie, because I'm in contact with people from the native. I'm not talking about reserve Indian native that getting drunk and stuff. I'm talking about officials.
Sure.
And they're trying. They have a program trying to educate people in French about how the French were giving blankets with smallpox and stuff like that.
Oh boy!
And some people keep saying that it's not true. And that's a lot of stuff like that. And of course, it's the entire Christianization. It's so wrong. I mean. And that's the biggest message behind this. It's that how many cultures have lost their identity because of stupid religion. And even today, the biggest shit happening everywhere, it's because of stupid religions. I mean that's ridiculous. And the last one is the fjord. That's about the region where I come from, me and my drummer in the north. So that's more personal. This one is more personal.
Which one was that?
The fjord.
Oh, okay. Now, also, how could you explain this one musically to us?
The fjord. There was nothing really, how can I say, really not much research. I just grab a guitar and start playing some notes, and I said it felt like home. Mm-hmm. I started, and I feel like home. I said, damn, and I started to, and I'm going to put that riff, and it came together really fast. And I was hearing the choir, the male choir, and it came I think it came together in 1 or 2 minutes.
Wow.
So, and I said, this feel like home. And my drummer said, yeah, really. It feel like I can feel the mountains and the wind and the ice and everything. And I said, yeah, and that was as simple as that. And I sat down and just thinking about home and writing the lyrics, it went really fast.
You know, this isn't really a big musical question, but do you ever, I mean, now that you're living in Montreal, highly populated city of Canada, do you ever miss home?
Not really.
Okay.
No. I'm going there maybe once or 1 or 2 times per year. Mm-hmm. I know it's not much, but there's nothing to do there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you go there while you're going in the mountains. My mom's not living in town. She's living at the bottom of one of the biggest mountain there. Mm-hmm. And so you go there and there's nothing to do.
You could stare at the mountain.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, if you like to go camping and doing stuff like that, it's perfect. But I'm always on the band. Every day I'm working on Necronomicon. So for me, I don't like to say that because it sounds really like I'm an extremist. But you know, it's just like I'm wasting my time when I go there. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So. And look, the album's been out now for like 4 months. What have some of your fans' reactions been to it?
So far, a lot of people consider that's our best album. Mm-hmm. A lot of people on previous albums, especially back in 2010, I think, for Return of the Witch, everyone was like, oh, it's not that, it's weird and this and that. There was some reason because of that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were always mentioning, oh, Pharaoh of God, 1999 is still the best album. And for the first time ever, Advent of the Human God is have a higher critics than all our other albums.
Wow.
Rise of the Elder One did really good. Mm-hmm. But this one is way, 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 way far ahead so far.
And, you know, now, of course, every band that has a new release thinks that their new release is always the most definitive album of their career.
That's a cliche, of course.
But why do you personally think that this is your most definitive album of your career, Rob?
Because, like, I repeated that for Rise of the Elder One, I know, but it was easier to work with, as musically speaking, because I have less problems on certain part, especially the orchestral part. Mm-hmm. I found people to work with me because I'm composing really everything. There's no one like composing the orchestration for me. I do it. Mm-hmm. And I needed to have someone that's extremely competent on working with orchestration and all that stuff. So I found the right guy to do it, and that helped a lot. So for me, I could like really fully add everything that I wanted to do. And even with Rise of the Elder Ones, there was some parts that the guy working with me at the time for the orchestration was like, this is too complicated. So even if there was a decent amount of orchestration, there's some part that would put aside because we couldn't do it, and not with this one.
Right.
Advent of the Human God have like really pretty much everything that I wanted.
Well, that's good. And now next month, you guys are embarking on a Canadian tour, so tell us a little bit about that.
We were asked to do that one because the last time we did a Canadian tour was in 2011, so it started to take a long time. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I was like, yeah, okay, but I was not pushing more than that. And this time I said, yeah, well, a lot of people are asking, and the record label was like, dude, you should do a Canadian tour, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, and they really started, they called the agency. They said, we want them to do Canadian tour. Mm-hmm. So it really started from that, you know, and my agent just said, Rob, he said, label's putting pressure. You said you were okay, but you didn't to do it, and we need to do something. I said, okay, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And it's really started like that. I said, okay, I want I want to be what a decent band, a band that we're here talking about here, and that I don't like to say that to put any band down from here, but it was literally like, we don't have much option,
right?
So Vesperia won like the Viking Battle of the Band last year. So we said, these guys have been doing some shows, blah, 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 blah. Let's take them. There's a hype. And we start to... I thought it was an amazing idea. It came from John Asher, actually. Or a PR agent.
Yeah.
And our agency wanted to have a band from US, so I said, yeah. And they said, this band, this band, this band, or this band. And I was like, well, I don't know these bands, so I don't know. So it said, well, we would like that band better. So it's really as simple as that. So
you have Abiotic going on tour with you,
yeah.
And they're a great band, so that's a good choice.
Yeah, but it came down to 2 or 3 bands at the end, and I was like, well, if I can't, I'm going to have this one, I can't have that one, or vice versa, So it ended up, the other one can't. But I said, okay, so my next choice was Abiotic, or first choice, I don't remember. But so it came down to this. Really simple, actually.
Well, it's going to be a good tour because they're from like way down in Florida, and their Canadian friends don't get to see them that often either. So it's going to be a great tour for everybody. Here you are, Canadians, finally touring your own country.
Well, in a little while, because we did it many times. We did it many times, but more in the 90s.
Right,
and,
right.
We did a big one in 2005 with Behemoth.
Yep.
And the last time was 2011, yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind of due, Rob, so...
Yeah, I'm overdue, actually.
You are. So, and that's going to take you, like, through the whole month of August. Now, do you got anything else going on for the rest of the year?
Yeah, because 5 days after the Canadian tour, we're going to be on the Marduk tour in US.
Oh, cool. Well, that's going to be great. That's a good build to be on.
We're going to be in September. We're going to be in US starting, I think it's September 4th, 5th, something like that. We'll start in Florida. And we're doing the big US tour, then we had this Marduk on it, this Rotting Christ and Karakagen. I don't know if the way to pronounce it, and us, so it's going to be like a pretty dark tour. Yeah,
and I have heard of that tour now that you mention it. I think I've seen some of the, probably from your page maybe, some of the banners and flyers going around for that. And that's going to be across the entire U.S.?
Yeah, I think pretty much, yeah. If I remember, because there's some place when this last 4 years, Necronomicon has been almost just touring in US. And we've been to many, many, many places. But there's few places that we've never been, and that's why I said, well, it's pretty much everywhere in US, I think, So first time in Louisiana, I'm really happy to go there. So every time we're supposed to go there was canceled, so...
Well, that'll be nice for you guys. Yeah. And so Rob, what's the best site for people to go to find out more about you guys, where you're going to be on tour, when you're going to be on tour, where they can pick up merch, all that kind of stuff?
Well, it's, the typical thing these days is Facebook. So that's pretty much it. I mean, on Facebook, you can have access to the CD, to buy from Season of Mist. You can have if you search a little bit more on the page on the, I don't know how you call that thing, but you scroll down a little bit, you can have like the direct access to the merch, to the store, online store, to the band. The tour dates are there. There's more stuff to come, and so that the Facebook is pretty safe. I mean, don't just be sure to not go on the German Necronomicon.
No, I think they would, if they're looking for you and they went onto that one, they would know right away they're on the wrong page.
They would have a really weird surprise.
Okay, well, there you have it. Necronomicon's new album, Advent of the Human God, out now on Season of Mist Records. So go grab yourself a copy. And again, they're on tour in the United States in September. They're on tour in Canada next month, so they're pretty much covering all of North America, so chances are they're going to be somewhere near you, and you can check out on their Facebook page where they're going to be touring near you, and you can go see them. And Rob, thank you for taking the time out to do this interview with us here tonight, and good luck out there on the road and with the new album.
Thank you very much, Jet. It's always a pleasure to be with Metal Messiah Radio.